As you all know, there's an ongoing DNC fraud lawsuit going on, and even though I don't have an update for you when it comes to the details of the case, there is an odd story stemming from the DNC fraud lawsuit itself when it comes to the most infamous defendant in the case, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So, the Ring of Fire reports, just before 5 p.m. on Thursday, Elizabeth Lee Beck's office received a mysterious phone call. A caller with a voice that sounded robotic and genderless, along the lines of the voice changers used when television show interviews are kept anonymous, asked the secretary for details in the DNC fraud lawsuit. Beck's office is the law firm bringing the suit against the DNC for their fraudulent practices during the 2016 primaries. The secretary provided the caller with publicly available information about the case, and the caller ended the call with "okie dokie." The caller obviously went to great lengths to conceal their identity when probing for information about the case. However, a small detail was missed. Caller ID. The call came in from 305-936-5724. With a little internet sleuthing, like a simple Google search, it was revealed that the number comes from Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz's Aventura, Florida office.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Debbie. Was that you, Debbie? I need to know if that was Debbie. Now, we don't have any evidence that that was Debbie herself, but certainly it was someone from her office, and please, please, please let that be Debbie. If that's Debbie, then I would be so excited. I want it to be true. I want to believe. But we don't have evidence. But wow, what a weird story. What a weird thing to do. Now, when you look at the number that appeared on the caller ID, sure enough, it's the office of Congresswoman and disgraced DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So they were busted fishing for information about the DNC fraud lawsuit. Now, before we, get any further with the discussion, I want to credit Nico House, who is the individual that broke this story initially. But that's such a weird thing to do. That's a really, really weird thing to do because, at the first hearing, you already kind of got some insight into the argument that Jared Beck would be putting forward to prove that the DNC did, in fact, commit fraud. So I can't possibly begin to figure out what they would want to know that they don't already know. I mean, there's a wealth of evidence to show that the DNC defrauded Bernie Sanders supporters by tipping the scales against him and his supporters. So I don't know what they would look for that's not already out there. But it's interesting to me, and it tells me one thing. It tells me that they are paying attention to the DNC fraud lawsuit because, up until this point, their policy has been to completely just ignore its existence. But they're aware of it. And they're only going to be able to ignore the DNC fraud lawsuit for so long until people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Tom Perez, Donna Brazile, they're all subpoenaed and are forced to show up in court if it does in fact move forward and it's not dismissed. So, I don't even know what to say about this. This is a story that's just so bizarre and odd. If you're going to use a voice changer, how could you forget the most important detail? To block your caller ID.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Now, again, we don't know if it's Debbie Wasserman Schultz that made this call. I really, really want it to be Debbie Wasserman Schultz because that would just be hilarious to me. But most likely it was an intern that called, upon the orders of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So this is just such a weird story. I keep saying that, but it's unbelievable to me. Do I believe Jared Beck and Elizabeth Beck? Absolutely. They provided us with evidence. They took a picture of the phone and caller ID linking, the number to Debbie Wasserman Schultz's office. So of course I believe them. And it's not something that is unbelievable, even if we didn't have evidence, because Debbie Wasserman Schultz she's not just a weird person, but she's relatively strange in terms of the things that she'll do and say to push her own agenda. So when it comes to, the whole infamous chair throwing incident that she lied about on national television, that was just a strange phenomenon as well. There was no video evidence that there were chairs that were being thrown, and the only piece of evidence that we see where someone picked up a chair completely debunks her theory. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's just this weird, irrational person that does things that hurt herself when she doesn't even realize it, and then she turns around and plays the victim and is saying, why is everybody, looking at me? I did nothing wrong. No, Debbie, you continue to mess up. You continue to do wrong things and bad things that hurt the party and hurt, everyone in the country. Because if you hurt people like Bernie Sanders, then you hurt everyone in the country. You're part of the reason why we got Donald Trump as president, Debbie. So, I mean, I don't get why she just keeps doing things like this. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm glad that they at least acknowledge the existence of the DNC fraud lawsuit. They can't continue to sweep it under the rug. They know it's there, and they know they want information about it. So, and we know they want information about it, that is. So, you know, weird story. I don't know what to tell you.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.